What? You're going back home to give birth? Yes. As I say that, my mother-in-law gives me a snide grin and says, "Why don't you just stay there forever? I don't want to see your freeloading face." I felt delighted by her words. Sure, take care then. My name is Chloe, a 34-year-old working woman. I'm currently dating a guy named Barry. We first met at a party. We hit it off because we shared the same taste in music. We exchanged numbers and started to go out. After work, we'd hang out at a local bar, talk about our favorite tunes, and catch up on our work lives. Being with him was always a blast, and time would fly by. We eventually became a couple. It's been about 2 years now, and life has never been more fulfilling. We're both busy with work, so weekends are our quality time. But knowing I'll see him pushes me to work harder and be more productive. Our relationship helped me succeed in my job. After about a year of dating, we moved in together. We were serious about each other and considering marriage. Being with him was both calming and joyful, so both of us were keen on getting married. Living together first was a great decision. We got to know each other's lifestyles, for better or worse. A year later, and my desire to marry him hasn't changed. So, I was waiting for a proposal. Of course, he had his own timing, but I couldn't help feeling a little impatient lately. Then, one day, he invited me to dinner at a fancy restaurant. It wasn't a special occasion or anything. Could this be it? I went to the restaurant after work, nervous but excited. When I got there, I found him, even more anxious than I was. Seeing his nervousness, I instantly felt more at ease. I felt bad for him, but the way he greeted me, so tense and rigid, was honestly a bit funny. Then the meal started, and he was visibly nervous the whole time. After we finished the main course, he called out my name. Chloe. He looked straight at me, making me feel a bit anxious. In my life, Chloe, you're the most wonderful person I want to cherish. I hope you feel the same way about me. So, will you marry me? With those words, he handed me a ring. My answer, of course, was already decided. Yes! I'm looking forward to our life together! And so, we were set to marry. The feeling of happiness I felt was beyond words. But life was about to get busy, so I couldn't revel in the joy forever. We had to meet each other's parents, hold family meetings, and start preparing for the wedding. Juggling all this with a busy work schedule was challenging. Barry and I managed to make time and pushed forward with all the preparations. First, I introduced him to my parents, who seemed to really like him. I guess his sincerity won them over. I was grateful that they approved of our marriage. However, when we visited his parents' home next, I had an unpleasant experience. You're Barry's fiancé? You seem quite plain. Barry's mom, my future mother-in-law, Ree, said this upon our first meeting. Mom, what are you saying? Yeah, she's the woman Barry chose. Knocking me down like that. Pretty rude, don't you think? Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. I'm just being honest, you know. Well, if it's like hiring a housemaid, what's the big deal? Mom, enough is enough. Seriously, what are you thinking? Barry and his dad Wilt stood up for me, finally getting Ree to back down. I knew from our marriage introduction that I wasn't fond of Ree. Chloe, I'm sorry. My mom's always been blunt, and honestly, I've never been comfortable around her either. Really? Yeah, so don't let her words get to you. Let me know right away if she says anything after we're married. Got it. I felt relieved when he said that. I knew he would protect me. In fact, he tried to shield me when introducing me to his parents. Still, I couldn't shake my lingering concerns, especially about the upcoming family meeting. I was worried about Ree in particular. I had a feeling she'd be disrespectful to my parents too. I'd warned Barry about her. He'd promised to be cautious around her. I'd even prepped my parents, letting them know Ree was a handful. They already had a bad impression of her, thanks to previous encounters. Finally, the day of the family meeting arrived. I was on edge for entirely different reasons. Nice to meet you. I'm Barry's dad. Thanks for having us. We are Chloe's mom and dad. My parents and Wilt were cordial, exchanging pleasantries. But Ree, she sat down without a word and ordered a drink. I'll have a red wine. Looks like we'll need to drink a bit to make this interesting. Ree made comments like that. My parents were speechless at Rhee's behavior. Both Wilt and Barry were visibly annoyed and quickly apologized to us. And so, the family meeting began. My parents and Wilt hit it off, chatting amiably. Rhee, for the most part, focused on her meal, but as she got drunk, she started to butt into the conversation. A government job? Really? Stable, maybe, but the pay's nothing to write home about. It's such a shame that Barry is marrying the daughter of such boring people. And if they have kids, half of them will be boring too, right? Rhee was really crossing the line. Enough is enough! You can leave now! Wilt was furious, and Rhee had no choice but to leave. What's the big deal? I'm just speaking my mind. Wilt took Rhee outside and put her in a cab. He returned to the restaurant and, along with Barry, apologized again. I was really glad we had booked a private room. Rhee had been even more of a burden than we'd anticipated. At the wedding, she was subdued, likely because Wilt had warned her to be on her best behavior. Wilt had apparently told her he'd divorce her if she embarrassed them. So, she kept her mouth shut. At least there were no issues at the wedding. Thank goodness for that. And so, our newlywed life finally began. Barry and I got along great, so married life was blissful. We both could handle chores, so we divvied them up evenly to avoid burdening one over the other. Just so you know, Barry is an excellent cook. I always looked forward to the days he'd cook for us. Of course, on days when he's the chef but gets held up at work, we cook together. By cooperating like this, we were enjoying our days as a happy couple. Barry tried to go back to his family home alone as much as possible, considering Rhee and me. Thanks to that, I avoided any direct snide comments or attacks from Rhee. I'm truly grateful for Barry's consideration. But then, a tragic event occurred. Wilt collapsed from an illness and passed away. Perry and I rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. What the... Dad, why? Barry was very fond of Wilt, so he took it pretty hard, and Rhee was visibly upset too. How dare you leave me behind like this? Though I don't like Rhee, I felt for her in that moment. I was sad to lose Wilt, who had always treated me so well. Soon we found ourselves busy with funeral arrangements. While grieving, Barry took charge of the preparations. I did my best to support him as much as possible. The funeral concluded smoothly. We think we managed to give Wilt a proper farewell. Afterward, life returned to normal for Barry and me. It took some time to recover from the shock of losing Wilt, but we managed. Barry also seemed to have resolved to move forward in life. However, a new issue arose. Barry? Chloe? Help me! One day, Rhee showed up at our home saying that. Mom, what's going on? The unusual atmosphere had Barry a bit rattled. Since your father's gone, I've been feeling lonely every day. Even food doesn't taste good anymore. I wanted to see the faces of my only family, my son and his wife. That's how Rhee put it. She seemed sincere. She seemed to be genuinely weakening. Could you let me live with you for just a little while? What? Barry and I were shocked by her request. I feel like I'll be crushed by loneliness if things go on like this. We were hesitant, but figured a little time wouldn't hurt. Rhee was so frail, we doubted she'd have the energy to attack me. So we started living together, and Rhee was surprisingly mature. She even took on some of the chores, helping us out. I'm staying in your home, after all. It's the least I can do. Thanks, Mom. You're a lifesaver. Both Barry and I were grateful to Rhee. Life would be fine if things continued this way. However, about 3 months later, Rhee started showing her old attitude, bit by bit. Chloe, don't you plan on quitting your job? Huh? Why? Isn't it normal for wives to quit working? But you've been working this whole time. Well... Rhee started treating me more harshly. It probably meant she was getting back to her old self. I immediately consulted Barry. He said, Understood. Let's have Mom go back to her hometown right away. When he talked to Rhee about it, she said something shocking. I already sold the family home. What? Neither Barry nor I could hide our surprise. Wait, Mom, why would you do something like that without telling us? That's the house I inherited from your dad. It's my call to sell it. At least you could have told us. I forgot. Sorry. Now I don't have a home to return to, so don't kick me out. Well, both Barry and I were at a loss. During our time of concern, an unexpected event happened. It turned out I was pregnant. Both Barry and I were thrilled. We wanted a child, but had almost given up because of age, so this was wonderful news. However, this made the situation with Ree even more complicated. Living with Ree while pregnant would be incredibly stressful. Recently, she'd been complaining to me again. Why do I have to cook your meals too? I'm staying in this house because of Barry, not you. Actually, normally, the wife does all the housework. Ree would only cook for Barry and herself, and she would do her laundry while avoiding mine. Barry would scold her, and she'd pretend to reflect on it, but then she'd do it again. I was at my wit's end. I had accrued leave, so I decided it was better to take maternity leave early and go back to my parents' house. When I discussed this with Barry, he made a suggestion. We both agreed and started making arrangements. I immediately prepared and informed Ree as well. You're going back home to give birth? Yes. You're being irresponsible, abandoning your housework to go back home? I'm sorry, but for a safer childbirth, I believe it's necessary. Barry has also given his approval. When I said that, Reese smirked and said, Why not stay at your parents' home forever? I don't want to see your parasitic face anyway. I bet even Barry's fed up with you, huh? Huh. You don't need to come back to this house anymore. I felt pure joy hearing Ree's words. Alright, take care then. So I went back to my parents' house. It felt good to see them after such a long time. Mom and Dad supported me, so I've been able to live peacefully. A month later, Barry showed up at my parents' house. I finally got the okay from the company. I found us a new place, too. That's great. The plan Barry had in mind was to switch to remote work. The company approved his request so Barry could work remotely. Being considerate, he rented an apartment near my parents' house, and we decided to move there. Barry then canceled the lease on the room Ree had moved into and completed our move to the new apartment. Word has it that Ree was quite flustered, so she called me. Hey, Chloe! Where are you? I'm at our new place with Barry. New place? Where? Like I'd tell you. Don't joke around. I have to cancel the lease on this place and move out soon. All the furniture and appliances are gone. I can't even live here anymore. What am I supposed to do? I haven't heard from Barry since he said he was cutting ties. He doesn't want to talk to you anymore. It seems you were only acting all sweet to crash here, huh? You planned this because you couldn't make any money from selling the house you inherited from Wilt, right? How did you know that? You told the neighbors how mad you were that the house your husband left had no value. You were surprised when it suddenly turned into a lot for sale. They just can't keep their mouths shut. Give me Barry back! I'm that kid's parent, so I have the right to live with him. As I told you, he doesn't want to see you, and I don't want to force him into something he's uncomfortable with. Hearing this, Ree erupted irrationally. Whoa! Who do you think you are? Acting all high and mighty when you're just a broke, leeching, plain wife. That's not nice to say, but it's true. Well, I don't think I'll be seeing you anymore, so it doesn't really matter to me. But let me set the record straight. While I work a full-time job, I also have a side gig, and I actually earn more than Barry. Huh? A side gig? I initially went to a school focused on web design, so I've been doing that sort of work on the side. I get a variety of projects from clients, so including my full-time salary, I'm pulling in about $7,000 a month. What? That much? So it's more than you made, Wilt? Ree was speechless after discovering my real situation. I guess she didn't expect that his underestimated wife was earning that much. But none of this concerns you, Ree. With Barry cutting ties, I'll be distancing myself even more from you. Hold on! If you're making that much, maybe you could help me out a little. The moment Ree said that, I hung up and blocked her calls. I felt a bit relieved knowing I had exposed Ree's true colors and made her feel regretful. The thought of never having to deal with Ree again also made me happy. She doesn't know where my parents' house is or where I work. Barry's job is now remote and our new address is unknown to her, so the chances of Ree finding us are next to zero. I heard that Ree has always had a spending problem, and whatever inheritance Wilt left is virtually nothing. She tried to sell the house, but got a low-ball offer, leaving her broke. But you can't teach an old dog new tricks. A neighbor from our previous neighborhood contacted Barry and told us that Ree couldn't stop spending and has fallen into debt through payday loans. She's even going around asking neighbors for loans. But nobody's buying what she's selling, so she's stuck living a poor life. Serves her right. On the other hand, Barry and I don't have to worry about Ree crashing into our lives anymore, so it looks like we'll have a peaceful life moving forward. We're spending time between our home and my parents' place as I prepare for childbirth. Once the baby is born, Barry and I plan to raise our child and enjoy our days together.